Alright, so what we have here is a general, just a plain paper. We're at about 50 yards or so. And what we're going to do is we're going to test iron sights, and then we're going to test Jacob's Spikes Tactical with his red dot sight. And we're just going to see what kind of grouping we can get. This, as you can use me as kind of an example, is bigger than a man's torso, but also it's just some plain white paper just to see where the grouping is at. We're just gonna shoot at the center of mass from about 50 yards. We're gonna find out basically where the rifle out of the box tends to group, and we're just gonna see how well we can group from a distance. And this is with the red dot. You clear? Clear. Okay, it's hard to tell, but we have one here, 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 and here. The general target was just like we said earlier, just center of mass. So all in all, at 50 yards, the red dot, it didn't perform poorly, is what I'm saying. It didn't perform poorly. It performed pretty well for what it was. How much did you say that one you had typically would run?
New, about 200.
200. Okay, so as far as the red dots and holographics that I'm familiar with, you know, it's on the cheaper end of the spectrum. So I'm going to invest in a SIG tac. It's very similar. So not a bad performing. If this was in the chest area, abdomen, you know, these would all be critical to fatal shots. Anyway, assuming, you know, this center of mass was the center of mass of a person. So all in all, not a bad piece of work. Okay, so now I'm going to take a shot at our white mass over there. One of the reasons I like the A2 format or profile is because of the dual aperture settings on the iron sights up here. We have a narrow aperture and a wide set aperture, and what that means is the wide set aperture, it's got a circle of about yay big, and the narrow aperture's got a circle of about yay big, so a little bit smaller. And what that does for you is it basically cinches up your target. So you flip to that, and it supposedly gives you a greater effective range because you have a smaller area. On iron sights like this, you can control your windage. You can move with this dial. You can adjust it left to right. And so out of the box, it can be a little tricky. When sighting in old traditional Vietnam era sights like these, they can be a little tricky. Straight away, I've had to where I can nail it within a bullseye, and then other times I can't, even remotely. But the great thing about the AR platform is that generally, as long as you're aiming at the same spot, you can group pretty tight. So we're going to see how I perform with my 5 rounds of Silver Bear hollow point. And since Jacob did his standing, I'll do mine standing too. And we're clear. Okay, so we had mine with the iron sights. And again, it's a little difficult to tell. But you've got Jacobs were all down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you had mine, one kind of above center of mass, and then they just kind of climbed up this way. But we can see that the red dot does have a little bit of an advantage over the iron sights. As far as a group would go, you'd have to draw that one at probably, you know, that circle. At this one, you have to draw at this circle. We were both standing, using just our bodies as support, so it came down to skill of the shooter almost as much as it came down to the kind of optics we were using. I would definitely say, based on these two comparisons, that the red dot definitely has some advantages, and if you are looking to tighten up your groups, a red dot would be the way to go. On the price scale, I do believe that's one of the cheapest options you can get. But you can certainly become proficient, if not, you know, stellar with the iron sights. So there's just a comparison between the two.